Hey guys, Level Cap here, and today I'm excited to bring you a list of every weapon and every vehicle and every gadget that we're getting in the final release of Battlefield 5. Obviously, this list will extend as more things are added over time, but at launch, we have everything that we're going to be able to unlock and play with. And full disclosure, I was given a lot of this information before the blog post dropped so I could prepare some video content. Now there's 30 different primary weapons, 7 different sidearms, 9 melee weapons, 16 gadgets, 7 different types of reinforcements, 5 stationary and towable weapons, and 24 vehicles, not counting the reinforcement vehicles. Let's start off by getting into the different primary weapons, and we'll break it down by category, starting off with the assault rifles. We of course have the STG-44, considered by many to be the first real assault rifle, and if you played the alpha or beta, you definitely used this or got killed by it quite a bit. Then there's the Sturmgewehr 1.5, which is the select fire variant of the Gewehr 1.5. So I guess this one is going to have a full auto functionality to it. We've seen a few in-game screenshots of this weapon. Then there's the M1907 SF, which is similar to the M1 carbine, only heavier and more powerful. I don't know if this weapon has any relation to the M1907 in Battlefield 1, the M1907 SL. There are so many different weapons with the label of M1907 that I'm not 100% sure which one exactly this one represents. It could be a repeat of the Battlefield 1 gun, since that one does have a fully automatic fire mode. Then we have the second assault class weapon category, which is the semi-automatic rifles. Starting off with the Substallator 1916, again one of the starting weapons in Battlefield 1. This one is translating over to Battlefield 5, and in fact there is a custom skin for it that you can get on the road to Battlefield 5. Then we have the Gewehr 43, which was available in the alpha and the beta, and the Gewehr 1.5, which is again a variant of the Sturm Gewehr 1.5, which is in the assault rifle category. This one, however, is the semi-auto version of that weapon, and it uses the same detachable magazine as the STG-44. Then we have the M1A1 carbine, again usable in the beta. It's a very fast-firing semi-auto with a rather weak bullet, best used within 50 meters of your enemy. And then we have the Turner SMLE, which fires faster than the Gewehr 43 but has a weaker bullet at further ranges. Again, this was usable in the beta. So those are all 8 primary weapons that the assault class gets. The Gewehr 1.5 and the Sturmgewehr 1.5 are very similar weapons, probably almost identical weapon models. One of them is just full auto and the other one is semi-auto. Moving on to the Recon class, we'll start off with the bolt action rifles. There's the Gewehr M95/30. So basically we're getting the World War I gun back again. We've already seen a custom skin for this in the Road to Battlefield 5. Then there's the Krag Jorgensen, a rifle dating back to the late 19th century with a special type of integral magazine which loaded from the side rather than the top. This was something we haven't yet seen in the game, so I'm excited to try this out. Then there's the Lee Enfield number 4 Mark I, which is a variant of the Lee Enfield. Again, another weapon from Battlefield 1. We got to play this in the beta a bit. It doesn't hit quite as heavy as the Kar 98, which is the last bolt action rifle that the Recon class will get, and this is the most common bolt action rifle in the entire German army. Moving over to the self-loading rifles, aka the semi-automatic rifles, but only for the Recon class, we start off with the Model 8. Again, another Battlefield 1 repeat. This will be interesting to use since it fired so quickly in Battlefield 1. This will probably be one of the more aggressive rifles that you can get for the Recon class. Then there's the ZH-29, one of my favorites from the beta, a hard-hitting self-loading rifle with a 2-shot kill. And then we get the RSC, one of my favorite guns from Battlefield 1. This should be a slow-firing, but again, heavy-hitting semi-auto rifle. So those are the 7 different primary weapons the Recon class is going to get when the game launches. Moving on to the Medic class, we only have the SMG category. Starting off with the Sten, which we got to play with in the beta. This is an easier to control twin of the MP40. Then we have the Suomi KP31, which is a very hard to control fast firing SMG, which has a cool mag upgrade, allowing you to hold 50 rounds, similar to like a P90 or something crazy like that. There's the EMP, which was a fun gun in the beta, a bit more accurate than the other ones, similar magazine capacity. Then we have the MP40, again, another German weapon that we were able to use in the beta. This is a very well-known and very commonplace German weapon. Then we have the MP28, which is a variation or a modified MP18, an upgraded MP18, if you will. We're even getting a custom camo for this weapon from the Road to Battlefield 5. Then there's the MP34, which is very similar to the MP28, again a variation of the MP18, primarily used by the German Army. Then we have the M1928A1, aka the Thompson, the Tommy gun, whatever you want to call it. Again, this is technically a repeat from Battlefield 1, since we did get to use this variation of this in Battlefield 1, often referred to as the Annihilator, but this one will probably have a little bit more of the World War II wood furniture on it. Those are the 7 guns available to the medic at launch. Moving on to the support class, we start off with the light machine gun category, the KE7, which we got to play with in the beta. This is a medium rate of fire LMG. Even though the light machine guns were designed in Switzerland, the Swiss Army never used this one. Then we've got the Bren gun with the very distinct top loading magazine, playable and usable in the alpha and beta. And then the FG42, which was a paratrooper rifle. This was one of my favorite guns during the beta. It absolutely tore people up with its fast rate of fire. And finally, with the light machine guns, we have the Lewis gun, which is another repeat from Battlefield 1. And again, we are getting a custom skin from the Road to Battlefield 5. Moving on to the medium machine gun category, there's only 2 of these ones. One of them is the MG34, which was only usable in the Battlefield 5 Alpha, and this one required you to go bipoded basically to aim down sights and be accurate. Again, they are described in ways of saying, you know what, you're really going to want to like go prone to use these weapons effectively. So I have a feeling that those mechanics are going to transfer over into the final build of the game. And then of course there's the much more popular or well-known MG42. This was a reliable machine gun, easy to use, and had an extremely high rate of fire. Definitely one of those iconic guns from World War II used by the German Army. I'm excited to try this one out in game. And then we have the shotguns, which is the 3rd weapon class for the support. We have the M30 drilling, which is an interesting triple barrel shotgun. 2 of those barrels are for buckshot. And then below it, we have a rifle round, so you can get a one-shot headshot if you got the accuracy for it. This was definitely a fan favorite during the beta and a really interesting weapon to use. And then we have the 12 gauge automatic. Again, another repeat from Battlefield 1. This is a semi-auto shotgun, so you don't have to pump it to load in the next round. Then we have 7 sidearms, which as far as I know are universal class weapons. There's the P38 pistol, which we got to use in the beta. We have the Ruby, which is very similar to the MLE 1903 from Battlefield 1. The P08 pistol, which we got to use in Battlefield 1. The Repetier pistol M1912, again, which we got to use in Battlefield 1. The M1911, which we got to use in Battlefield 1. The FP45 Liberator, which is an interesting, very small size pistol that actually shoots a 45 ACP that was designed for resistance fighters, which is interesting. And then the Mark 6 revolver, again from Battlefield 1. Admittedly, I am a little bit disappointed with the sheer quantity of repeat weapons that we're seeing from Battlefield 1, but I do have to remind myself that World War I and World War II were very close to each other chronologically, and many of the weapons from World War I were reused in World War II and quite prolific in World War II. So the weapons chosen here are not necessarily inaccurate, but you could look at this as many recycled assets if you choose to look at it that way. Of course, the same was true from Battlefield 3 to Battlefield 4. Obviously, if one game has modern military weapons, the next game's going to have modern military weapons, so you're going to see a repeat of a lot of the same guns as we are seeing here. Now, some people were expecting some guns like the M1 Garand to make an appearance, as the M1A1 is in the game. I have no doubt that that will be coming, but I imagine DICE is holding back on some of the more iconic weapons for future DLC and updates. So there's going to be plenty more weapons coming in the game. Now, moving on to the other categories, we have 9 melee weapons, which I'll list off real quick. There's the British Army jackknife, a club cricket bat, which we saw in the original reveal trailer, a hatchet, a kukri, a pickaxe, scout knife, shovel, and Solveig knife. Then there's the 16 gadgets, which are actually divided up into the classes. We've got ammo crate, ammo pouches, flare gun, grenade rifle, the M49 spotting scope, the medical crate, medical pouch, Panzerfaust. We have the PIAT, which is an anti-tank rifle that the British used. Then there's the S-35 Bouncing Betty, the SMLE smoke grenade launcher, a sniper decoy, which we haven't seen yet, which is, again, something that we did have as an option in Battlefield 1, a spawn beacon, sticky dynamite, a Sturm pistol, which is an interesting little handheld pistol style kind of anti-tank rifle, grenade launcher thing. We'll see what they do with it. And then there's the anti-vehicle teller mine. We have a full list of the reinforcements that will be coming in the final game. There's the V1 rocket, the JB2 rocket, which are essentially the same thing, the Sturm Tiger and the Churchill Crocodile, which are the two tanks that you can call in, the supply canister drop, which we got to test out in the beta. And then there's two new vehicles. These are the new ones here. There's the T-48 GMC 6 PDR AT half track. This is basically a half track with a field cannon mounted in the back of it, so you can take out a tank with it. Probably a lightly armored vehicle. Hopefully its speed is where it gets its main power from. We'll have to see how those play out and how much they actually cost to call in. And then we have the German version of the same vehicle, which is the SD-KFZ 251 Pack Wagon. Both of these look pretty cool and interesting, and I'm curious to see how they play in the final game and how much they cost. Then we have the 5 stationary and or towable weapons. There's the Flak 38 flat cannon, the Pak 40, and the QF6 PDR, which are basically the field cannons, both for the Germans and the British. The Vickers heavy machine gun tripod and the MG34 tripod, basically the two different mounted machine guns, either for British or German. And then finally, we get to move on to the 24 different vehicles that will be in the game at launch. We've got the Churchill gun carrier, which is the heavy British tank, the Churchill Mark 7, which is, I believe, the medium tank for the Brits. We have the Flak Panzer 4, which is the anti-air German vehicle. We have the Panzer 38T, which is the light panzer tank. The Panzer 4, which should be the medium panzer tank. Then there's the Staghound T17E1, which is basically an armored car, which was predominantly used by the British, I believe, but American made. Then there's the Tiger 1, which will be the heavy German tank. Then there's the Valentine AA Mark 1, which is the British anti-air equivalent. And then the Valentine Mark 8, which is the light tank for the Brits. Obviously, American, Russian, Italian, Japanese vehicles, all that stuff will be coming in with later DLC, but this should cover the battles that will be fought at the launch of the game. The transport vehicles that should spawn into the map are the Kettenkrad, the Kubelwagen, the M3 half-track, the SD-KFZ 251 half-track, and the Universal Carrier. And then when it comes to the aircraft, we have the Bf-109G2, the Bf-109G6, the Blenheim Mark 1, and the Blenheim Mark 1F. Then we have the Ju-87 Stuka B1 and the B2, and then the Ju-88A. We have a Mosquito F Mark II, the Spitfire Mark VA, and the Spitfire Mark VB. Most of those we've gotten to see in the beta so far, but they weren't fully functional, so I guess we'll really only understand the full power of these vehicles once the game finally launches. Admittedly, I'm a little bit disappointed that there's no quad engine bombers coming in the initial release of the game. I don't know if those will be coming later, or maybe the B-17 bombing raid will be something like a reinforcement streak that you can call in with future DLC, because I mean, the B-17, as much fun as it would be to fly in game, and you could fly in Battlefield 1942, didn't make a huge amount of sense logistically, especially if you're going to have one fully manned with all the gunners and stuff. It's a huge portion of your team up in the air, potentially not contributing to the game modes. So we'll have to see if they do integrate the heavy bombers later on. I'd still kind of like to see it for the good old Battlefield 1942 nostalgia. Anyway, this is the full vehicle and weapon and gadget and reinforcement list that we will be getting in-game at launch. It does feel a bit small in terms of the variety of things we're going to get. I know that DICE is planning on adding a lot more to the game later on as they progress with more DLC and progress through the war in terms of timeline and chronological stuff going on. They're going to add in more weapons, more vehicles, all that stuff. But I can't help but feel like this hurts the marketing more than anything, because if you can't market stuff like a B-17 or giant battleships, and aircraft carriers at the start of your game, you know, in the launch trailer, all that stuff, it's going to hurt the game's image at the start, which is generally when companies throw all their marketing dollars behind their game and promote them. So if you're saving a lot of the really cool shit till later, again, I don't know how that's going to play out in the overall marketing thing. I don't mind it as a game progression mechanic, but I just hope they're not shooting themselves in the foot when it comes to just the game image and stuff. We'll have to see how it plays out in the long run. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Let me know what you think of all the different weapons and vehicles coming in the game. And I'll talk to you next time. This is Level Cap signing off.